The Titanic was more than just a ship. It was a floating marvel of its era, hailed for its grandeur, luxury, and advanced engineering. Launched in 1912, the Titanic was considered the pinnacle of ocean travel. Grand staircases, sumptuous dining rooms, an unmatched journey was offered by the Titanic to those that could afford it at the price of admission. Now, this was built to be both a massive and elegant, unsinkable ship. It was a symbol of confidence in humanity and its ingenuity. But as history would so tragically prove, even the mightiest vessels aren't immune to disaster. The Titanic story is not just about a shipwreck, it's a powerful lesson in ambition, oversight, and the unforeseen dangers that lurk just beneath the surface. In this podcast, we're going to uncover 7 key lessons from the fate of the Titanic, revealing how its story continues to offer timeless warnings of our own journeys in the investment world. So whether on the seas or in pursuit of financial success, these lessons are invaluable. So let's jump right in and begin with lesson number 1. Welcome. Thank you for joining me again. My name is Terry Wheeler. So let's jump right in. So the first thing that went wrong with the Titanic and lesson that we can derive from it is they were chasing a speed record. Now, they weren't trying to be the fastest ship to cross the Atlantic. There were much smaller, faster ships that had done that. But for a luxury cruise liner of this magnitude, its sister ship, the Olympic, had already made a very impressive voyage. And the word was that the ship of the Titanic, which was the greatest ship ever to be launched, they wanted to beat that record. And therefore, the crew perhaps let some key things slip by them that caused the danger that inevitably led to its downfall. So in investing, we want to make sure you don't get caught up in the euphoria. Now, we often have what we call FOMO, fear of missing out, and it's natural. The markets are going up right now. AI stocks are pushing everything to record levels, and you want to get your piece of those returns. It's a natural feeling, but you must be very careful because that euphoria can sometimes steer you in the wrong direction. The fear of missing out can cause you to make some improper decisions. So let's make sure that we focus on the right things before we invest, and then we invest the right way. So, what was the second thing that happened with the Titanic? Now, this one seems almost unforgivable, and that is that the crew, the lookout, had no binoculars. They did not even have the basic tools to be able to see trouble ahead. And they were going fast on the ship at night, big moon lighting up the sky, but they could only see with the naked eye. So, they did not have the proper tools. Now, in investing, what are the proper tools that we need to look to see if there's danger ahead? Now, there are several, but one of the most uncannily accurate ratios that we look at is a Shiller's price earning ratio. Now, this is also known as the CAPE, which is a cyclically adjusted price earnings ratio. Now, what this is basically saying is, what kind of a multiple of earnings am I paying for stocks? And the average is around 17 or so. It recently hit close to 38. Now, 38 is saying that the market is extremely overvalued. Now, let's give a reference. In late 1999, early 2000, the highest level of the CAPE ratio ever hit occurred, and that was just over 40. Now, this is the second highest ratio we've seen in history. So the Shiller price earning ratio is screaming caution in this stock market. This is a stock market indicator. Now, we were fortunate on a trip where we went to learn about the Titanic, and we were actually on a cruise, ironically, and we visited Belfast, and that is where the Titanic was being built. Now, 2 of the members on that cruise were Jeremy Siegel, which he's a regular on CNN, and he's a icon in the investment community, and one of his classmates who won the Nobel Prize named Robert Shiller. That's right. The author, the creator of the Shiller price earning ratio was on there. And we discussed What do the indicators say right now? Definitely flashing caution, but everybody wonders, is this time different because of AI? But the universal feeling in the room was it is time for some protection. So, no binoculars, no proper tools. In investing, don't do that. Pay attention to the key indicators such as the Shiller price earning ratio and exercise caution at this time. Okay, the third lesson from the Titanic was warnings of trouble ahead, warnings of icebergs. The ship received no less than 7 warnings that there were a lot of icebergs out there and there was a lot of danger in the area it was going through. Yet they ignored those warning signs. They ignored things because they felt that this boat was unsinkable. It was different for them. Turned out not to be so different. They ignored the warning signs and they paid dearly for that. So don't ignore the warning signs in your portfolio. Be prepared. We always think this time is different, and it rarely is. So, number 4 was an engineering flaw in the Titanic, and that is the bulkheads. These were areas of the ship that were designed to be watertight. They were designed so that if the water filled up in this area, it would be controlled to a bulkhead. And even if 2 or 3 of them were breached, you were okay. But then if that next one got breached, the sink would ship or the ship would sink. So these bulkheads, unfortunately, were not built tall enough. So the water breached them and then just filled one compartment after the other and sank the ship. So the question is, in your portfolio, what are your bulkheads? What is there to protect your portfolio in the next crashing market? Is your bulkhead simply diversification? And will diversification save you? Well, 2000, 2001 tech crash and 2008 financial crisis, the entire markets fell over 50%. Diversification did not save you. Now, did it buy you a little bit of time? Well, tech stocks in 2000, 2001, they hit almost 80% negative. So if you were diversified, you only lost half your portfolio, but that was probably too much water that was taken onto your portfolio, and your ship very well could have sunk simply because of losing half of your money. So bulkheads need to be built better. And the good news is in your portfolio, we often talk about defined outcome investing. This is putting strategies on the stock side that will limit your losses. Maybe your losses will be hedged to where 30% of your losses are gone. So if the market's down 35%, you only lost 5%. Maybe 10% is an acceptable loss level for you, and you built a combination of target strategies and then capped and buffered strategies to give you a maximum 10% loss. So these are all done by design and they're done systematically so you know how much exposure you have before that next stock market crash. But make sure your bulkheads or the safety in your portfolio are built properly. So now we're up to number 5. Now, number 5 was being asleep at the radio. So a ship called the California was nearby, the closest ship to the Titanic, but the radio operator had gone to bed that night. So nobody was manning the radio. Nobody heard the Titanic's calls for the ship that was closest to potentially rescue people. So the key thing here, the lesson we can learn in investing is you need systems that are going to protect you in a down market, not people that are going to try to time the market and they're going to be calling you to get you out. Because timing the market is a fool's game. It is very, very rare that people can do that accurately and definitely not for the masses. But systems work. If you have a system in place that limits losses to only 5 or 10%, that will work if it's built correctly. So rely on systems. Don't rely on a phone call that may or may not ever be answered. Number 6, there were not enough lifeboats on the Titanic. There were over 2,200 people and only enough lifeboats for about 11 or 1,200 people. So half the people did not have a seat in a lifeboat. So how does that translate to investing? Well, do you have a lifeboat in your portfolio? or will you be left overboard in those frigid waters, drowning? In your portfolio, the lifeboat needs to be there and planned for ahead of time. Downside protection, such as what we offer in defined outcome investing, is that lifeboat that will make sure that you and every other investor that is using this system has protections at an acceptable level in a crashing market. So make sure you have a seat on the life ramp or the lifeboat, and you've got to build it ahead of time. Don't wait till the market crashes. It's too late at that point. So our seventh and final lesson that we can learn from the Titanic is the Titanic had these lifeboats that should have been able to fit about 11 to 1,200 people, but only 700 people roughly were saved. Why so few? When chaos happens and panic strikes, people react with human nature and they were trying to save themselves. These boats went away. They could have fit many more people, and they were trying to save themselves, ultimately at the expense of several hundred people that could have also been saved. So in your portfolio, we know that panic causes bad decisions. There are stories of people being there for the crash and then selling because they just couldn't take it anymore. You have to have a system in place so that panic and emotion are not what's controlling your portfolio. So whether it's defined outcome investing or something else, have a system, follow it exactly when times of stress occur. Warren Buffett is famous for many sayings, and one of them that is the most telling here is when others are greedy, be fearful. When others are fearful, be greedy. Now, how does that apply right now? A lot of us have FOMO when it comes to AI. Is it going to keep going up? Is this time different? Is it going to go up another 20, 30, 40, 50%? Or is it going to crash like a rock? Make sure you have systems. So if you are participating in this up market, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, have protection so you've already limited your losses, and then have a system in place. So if you limit your losses and you get out up here and the market then falls significantly, those money that were not there for the losses, you can reinvest where the market is on sale. So you can follow Warren Buffett's advice and you can invest when the market is on sale. Be greedy when others are fearful, but rely on a system so that you don't end up in a situation with a should have, could have, might have, and have lifeboats go away half empty, when if you do it right and you're following a system, you can make sure that you and your family are not only on the lifeboat, but you've maximized the potential for the given situation. So hopefully these lessons from the Titanic have been helpful. It was an amazing trip for my family and I in Belfast, learning all about the Titanic. And then my investment mind goes to, how does this apply to the investment world? So hopefully you enjoyed what we spoke about today. We'd love to tell you more about defined outcome investing. Please check the show notes below. We'll have links where if you'd like to learn more, set up a call or a time, and we'd be glad to tell you more about it and how it can help you not only protect your portfolio in a down market, but thrive in the next down market by being able to capture some of those dips. So I'm Terry Wheeler. Thank you again. Please like us, follow us, and we look forward to talking to you in the next episode of our podcast, We Money Talk. Thanks and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to We Money Talk with Terry Wheeler. Be sure to click the follow button to be notified as new episodes become available. Information presented is for educational purposes only. No listener should assume that any discussions or information presented serves as the receipt of or substitute for personalized advice from We Alliance Wealth Advisors, Inc. or from any other investment professional, and is not intended as an offer of solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. We Alliance Wealth Advisors, Inc. is not a law firm or accounting firm, and no portion of this podcast should be interpreted as legal, accounting, or tax advice. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not appropriate for every individual. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from qualified tax, legal, or investment advisors to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation.